Thank you all for coming this afternoon, and want to appreciate my colleague, Councilmember Mink, for co-sponsoring this really important bill today to put a 2-year moratorium on data centers in Montgomery County.
Yay.
Yeah, there you go. All right, press conference over. We're good. No. We're going to hear why this is important and what the details are, and I'll turn to my colleague in a moment. I'm really proud. Standing with us today are members of CCAN Action Fund, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Sugarloaf Citizen Association, Potomac Conservancy, Food and Water Watch, Nature Forward is here, the Montgomery County Climate Coalition, and many, many others who have been fighting long before today for our environment and for our community. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for showing up. Showing up is a big part of winning. You got to show up. I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Mink, again for co-sponsoring this legislation and standing here today. You're not going to hear me say technology is bad. It's not bad innately. It can be used in a poor ways, and it can have consequences on our environment. But what is happening with data center development right now in our region is not innovation, it's extraction. It is the bidding of big tech billionaires who profit from these data centers to reshape our communities, spiking our utility bills, draining resources, while the rest of us are left to deal with the consequences. When data centers are built without guardrails, without planning, without accountability, without firm, hard commitments around clean energy, they do not serve our community well. They take from it, they extract. And working families are always the ones who pay the price. I want to give you a number that's pretty staggering. Right now, data centers consume roughly 40% and rising in the state of Virginia of all their energy. 40% of all electricity in the state of Virginia right now, and that number is set to rise over 50 very soon, are going to data centers for one industry. And if you think that's Virginia's problems only, you're wrong. We share a regional power grid. The explosion of data center demand has driven an 833% increase in capacity auction prices across the grid that serves Maryland, Virginia, and 11 other states. That means higher bills that all of us are seeing. I thought about bringing my bill today. I said, no, I don't want to depress you. It's already happening. It's draining millions of gallons of water on top of that. And in Virginia, data center demand is already being used as a justification to keep coal plants open longer and to build new gas plants. So the demand itself is creating either further downstream, pun intended, issues on with the environment. And that's the trajectory we're on if we don't press pause here. And let's talk back up a step and talk about what's driving the boom. The explosion of artificial intelligence, unchecked and unregulated, is fueling a land grab for data center capacities across the region and across the country. Now, AI has real promise, but we need to make sure that it's working for human good, environmental good, the common good. We had the National Day of Prayer today. We talked about the common good. It can't just be for profits and to extract and to exploit. When it's deployed without limits, without thought for people that it could displace, it also has the potential to eliminate jobs, real jobs, blue collar, white collar jobs in every sector of our economy that families in this country depend on. This is the regional picture. Now let me bring it home here to Montgomery County. The proposed data center complex at Dickerson is the test case for Montgomery County. Right now, under our zoning code, a data center can be permitted as a cable communications facility. One of the key provisions of this bill is that you cannot, thank you Karen Menchus for catching this, and that you cannot have a data center be in our community hiding as a cable communications facility. That will change under this legislation. We're talking about industrial scale infrastructure that will reshape our power grid, our water supply, and the communities around it for decades. And we're letting it slip through a definition, a kind of a just a crack, a loophole in a code that was written for a different era. So today, alongside Councilmember Mink, we are introducing a 2-year pause on new data center development in Montgomery County. And I want to thank you very much. And I want to be very clear about what this bill is and what it's not. This is not a no, never. This is a we have to do it right. And if we can't, then it's a no. I have been asked about this in public, and it deserves a straight answer. There's another bill in front of the council introduced by a colleague that takes up the data center question. I respect the work of all my colleagues, but there are real differences between that bill and this bill as written, and the public needs to understand them. First among them, this is a 2-year pause, not a 6-month. 2 years to get the standards right, to get the permitting right before any permit is issued. My bill blocks the building permit, which is really important because that's the last step in the process. If under the other bill, a conditional use was granted, which they are going to apply for at the Dickerson site in a couple of weeks, likely before either of these bills pass, then that site would be grandfathered and would not be touched by the other bill. In my case, a building permit, because it's going to take a while to build these things, is further down the line, and our bill would be able to be in place. So there's a big difference about what the actual impact would be. My bill covers Dickerson, the other bill likely does not. Councilmember Glass's bill works differently. It applies to conditional use applications after the bill takes effect. Dickerson, as I mentioned, Dickerson's application is being filed now, and we don't want this to slip through the cracks. We don't want a 300 megawatt small city and emissions causing facility to slip through the cracks under a cable communications loophole. I'm not interested in legislation that sounds good on its face. I want to actually impact and have a real pause here in Montgomery County, and that means pausing on Dickerson. That's what this bill does. The Dickerson decision is one of enormous magnitude. We have several data centers here, smaller ones, but this is a different beast altogether. Once it's made, we can't take it back. You can't unbuild this type of data center. You can't unpollute a watershed. You don't unraise the electric bills of every family in the county once the grid is locked into new decades of demand. So we have to get this right the first time. There's no second chance. And here's what I want to do, and here's where I'll end. Here's what I want to do during the 2-year pause. We're not going to just be twiddling our thumbs. We're going to update our noise ordinance and make sure that the current 500-foot setback, which is not updated for industrial facilities, is insufficient. And we're going to make sure that for this type of noise, which could carry more than a mile and has documented health impacts, is updated. 2, we're going to require closed-looped water cooling. I don't want the Potomac River, which is one of the most endangered rivers in our country right now, being used to cool these and damage our watershed. Just last month, we heard that the Potomac River, which is a water source for 6 million people, was named the most endangered river in America, due in part to, quote, uncontrolled data center development. So we cannot permit facilities that draw millions of gallons of water supply when technology exists to recycle it. The latest data centers are all using this closed loop. So now, do you have to pay a little more? Yeah, but that's why we have to make sure we have these requirements. Closed loop has to be the floor, not an option. 3, we have to confirm there's enough renewable energy on the grid to actually power these facilities. If a data center is going to operate in Montgomery County, it must run on 100% clean energy. Everyone says that, but this is not offsets in some other place, not credits, not promises. This is a standard that matches our values and our climate commitments. And believe me when I say that these corporations, which are among the wealthiest and most profitable in human history, they can afford to meet that standard. Trust me. Trust me. I know it's hard to clap with that board, but I hear you. Thank you. 4, we have to, as I said earlier, take data centers out of the cable communications facility definition in our zoning code. They are not cable communications facilities. They are industrial infrastructure, and they need to be regulated and taxed like it. with real standards, real community impact assessments, and real protections for the agricultural and residential land around it. Some people will say we're leaving money on the table, that we're falling behind. Let me tell you something, Montgomery County can wait. AI is not going anywhere. It's advancing rapidly. The Dickerson site, the land, the opportunity, it's going to be there. In 2 years, it'll probably be even more valuable than it is today. But what we can't get back is our water once it's gone. We can't get back affordable electricity for families, and we can't undo the climate damage. And I've said this before, Montgomery County does not need to be the first to put one of these large industrial sites in the state. We need to do it right if we're going to do it. And that means 100% clean energy or nothing. It means protecting people who already live here before we roll out the red carpet for corporations. It means democratic oversight over a technology that stands to reshape every aspect of our lives. And it means children get to inherit a county that chose their future over a quick buck. So I would love to say the last thing we're going to do, we're going to work in Annapolis over this next year to make sure we have the proper taxing tools to get the revenue if we do move forward. The single family home shouldn't pay the same property tax as a large industrial data center. So we're going to do all these things, we're going to get it right, and we're going to see and if none of these conditions can be met, then we won't have one. But we're going to take the time, and that's why we need a pause. So with that, thank you, let's keep fighting, and please welcome my colleague, Councilmember Kristen May.
Thank you to my colleague, Councilmember Jawando, for your leadership on this area. I know you do not shy away from difficult but important subjects, and that's what this is. Thank you so much to all of the advocates who are in the room with us today, and I know that there are many, many more who are very active on this issue who are not in the room with us today, and I want to give a big thank you to them as well. I'm proud to co-sponsor this legislation, and simply it is because the stakes are too high. The stakes are too high. We cannot let the Dickerson Data Center move forward without being completely confident about its impact on our community. And we are just not even close to that. Maybe we never will be. I hope that we can be, but we can't have it be a question mark and moving forward. We cannot be the council that made that decision, that rolled the dice on this. We just cannot do it because, as Councilmember Jawando said, we can't turn back the clock. We can't turn back the clock on the ways that we are seeing data centers impact communities now. We're seeing communities all across the country who are begging their elected leaders to find a way to shut down data centers, in which this exact mistake was made. It was allowed to move forward, and now they are seeing and feeling and experiencing all of the myriad problems that are coming along with it. So we need to learn from that. We need to get ahead of it, and we need to really take the time that is required to do this right. So thank you very much to Councilmember Jawando. Thank you to all of you who are here today. I look forward to hearing from all of you. I know that you all are the experts in so many ways because we've been hearing from you for a couple of years now. I'm working toward this point, and now we are here. It cannot wait. It cannot wait, and we're going to need to get this over the finish line.
All right, next we're going to hear from the actual experts. First, Mike Tidwell from CCAN Action Fund.
Thank you, council members Meek and Jawando. This moratorium is critically needed in our county. Historically, people all over Maryland have turned to Montgomery County for leadership on progressive issues, including the environment. And I will say, having talked to the company that wants to build the Dickerson data center and having talked to other data center developers, their top priority is not water. Their number one concern is not people's utility bills. Their number one concern is not the impact that these data centers will have on the climate. Their number one concern is speed. How fast can we build these things? They Speed is all they talk about. They will sacrifice anything. They will make any shortcut if it means they can build these things faster, which is why this bill is so important, because it addresses that issue. We're going to slow it down. We're going to get it right. We're not anti-data, we're not anti-tech, but we want to preserve our county's way of life. If this is going to affect us for generations, surely 2 years to figure out how it's going to affect us and how we can do it right is truly, truly important. The way that this data center build out and this AI race is being conducted in this country is so mindless. It's like a car going faster and faster and faster, and nobody's hands are on the steering wheel. You know, sooner or later, you're going to have a crash. This bill allows us to put our hands on the steering wheel. And God willing, it's going to become the standard that other counties and other states look to, because this is of national significance, this bill that is being produced. The Dickerson, thank you. The Dickerson Data Center, 300 megawatts, it would, because they're not interested in clean energy, if they just used off-the-shelf PJM fossil energy, it would generate 1 million tons of CO2 per year, up to 3 million tons if they completely build it out. But that's obviously contrary to our county's climate goals. You're talking about 750 premature deaths triggered in this state just from this one data center using fossil fuels to power it. And I'll just conclude by saying that this moratorium is not the end of the policy conversation. Right. It's the beginning of a conversation. Now we can have a conversation. And the test of any moral precept, any ethical idea is, if everyone did what we're proposing to do, would the world be a better place? And the reality is if every county, every state were to take a similar pause around the world even, think about how much less fear we would all have, how much more deliberation we could have, how much more thoughtful policy making, and a much better future we could have if we all just took the pause that's being proposed by this amazing and vitally necessary bill. So thank you.
Thank you. You can use page there you go. All right, thank you, Mike. Next, we're going to hear from Karen Metchis from Montgomery County Climate Coalition.
Yeah, I'm Karen Metchis. I'm speaking on behalf of the 20 organizations that comprise the Climate Coalition Montgomery County and the Sierra Club itself. I can't underscore enough the importance of a moratorium on building centers in Montgomery County. We have read about Data Center Alley in Virginia. We are part of the same electrical grid, as was mentioned, and our skyrocketing electricity bills are a direct result of uncontrolled data center development and the need for new generation and new transmission lines. And let's be clear, when we talk about a data center in Dickerson, it's at the start 5 hyperscale data centers with more on the books to come. They will consume more energy than all the homes in Montgomery County. And what kind of energy? Clean energy, fossil fuel powered energy? While our county and state are working hard to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and drive climate change, building these AI facilities will ensure that anything we do will be a drop in the bucket compared to their huge energy use, unless we do this right. A moratorium on data center development will give us time to fully understand the actual benefits and, more importantly, the risks, and to find a sensible path forward we can live with. There are too many unresolved issues. What happens during a drought when data centers are guzzling our already stressed water supply? How many hours can the dirty backup gas generators run? What about noise and vibration? Where will they be located? The council is considering allowing data centers to be built in the middle of our communities, in the precious few industrial sites our small businesses rely on. No consideration has been given to their compatibility with our master plans and sector plans. The data center industry dangles big dollar signs in front of our elected officials. Don't be fooled. There will be costs and impacts felt by all residents. The Climate Coalition and Sierra Club will soon be offering several amendments to the proposed zoning regulations, but we need time to ensure we have appropriate environmental regulations, a cap on energy costs, guardrails on water use, and an outcome based on good governance that reflects our values. The public has voiced already strong support for a pause in hyperscale data centers. And so we appreciate that you, Will, Kristen, thank you, and Councilmember Glass have introduced legislation to give us time to consider such a consequential decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Anna here? Anna Mudd from Potomac? No? Okay. From Potomac Conservancy. Anyone here from Potomac Conservancy? Okay. So they're supporting, but they're not here. So with that, I am happy to take questions if there are any. Yes.
Last week I talked to the county executive about Councilmember Gossi's moratorium proposal, and he seems not super receptive to it. So I'm just kind of wondering if you had any conversations with him about this, and whether you think there's any reason he'd be more amenable to a longer moratorium, given that he said the council doesn't need 6 months in his view to work this out.
Yeah, well, we have a disagreement on that. I've talked to him about it, and I believe he does believe there should be some level of moratorium. I think to figure out all the issues we have to figure out, many of which were talked about today, it's going to take some time to do it right with real community input. And as I said, just take the tax issue alone. The state legislature meets January to April, and that's going to take some time to work through. So that's basically a year from now already. And obviously we're going to have a new county executive December 1st of this year. I think this is the appropriate stage. Just like any bill, it'll work through the legislative process. But I think we want to err on the side of caution here and get it right. And that's what this is trying to do, and make sure we impact this Dickerson site. We don't have the tools right now. The ZTAs, the things that are proposed, don't address several of the issues that have been brought up. So we need to take the time to do it. Yes.
People have mentioned there's several bills addressing data centers. I think pretty much everyone on the council agrees that they need to be done, but there's a lot of different approaches. Why propose this bill as opposed to everybody working together on one bill?
Yeah, well, so there's two bills. There's my bill and Councilmember Glass's bill, and I think I talked about earlier some of the key differences. One, that bill wouldn't impact Dickerson because of the timing of it and how it's constructed. Two, we have a fundamental disagreement on the 6 months versus the time in my bill, which is 2 years. And then the ZTA is different, right? The ZTA is where can you allow data centers? It's part of the policy conversation, but I think it underscores the whole point. There's different views, and there's things that aren't even addressed. The taxing issue, the water issue, and so the noise issue. We have to make sure we're kind of bringing these all together, and time will allow us to do that. You can't unbuild it. So when we passed, Councilmember Mink will remember, we passed rent stabilization when you first came on the council. There were two bills, and at some point they were merged. The legislative process will work itself out, but I think it's important to state the real differences between this bill and the other legislation that was introduced. One, that it'll impact Dickerson. Two, that it's 2 years, and we have a lot of issues to figure out. But I do think it's good that you have several council members that say that we do need a pause, but I actually want it to be a meaningful pause where we can get done what we need to get done. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering what we can do as citizens, Umbra's in Montgomery County.
Well, show up, write us, tell us what you want to see, and come testify. The good thing about this is I think the public hearing is June 16th. Is that right? Yeah, June 16th for both bills. So we'll be able to hear. You don't have to come twice. You don't have to use double gas because we know how expensive, or double electricity. So we try to be efficient here. But I think come and make suggestions, and then we will work through the legislative process from there. And I think I'm confident that we can figure out something that works. And as I said, and I have urged the county executive to do this. He's the head of permitting services. He could call for a moratorium today through his own authority. And so I'm hopeful that we can work on that as well. I think the way you get things done is you set out a vision and then you work with all parties involved. But the residents have a really important role to play in giving us your feedback, telling us what you think, in organizing petitions. I know these folks behind us are already organizing and that they will. So plug in this. I'm sure you're connected to some of these organizations as well. Okay, so are anyone else from the media, just real quick? And because I'm happy to answer questions from anybody, but yes, go ahead. Yeah.
You kind of got at this, but I just want to get it a little bit more. Some of these things that you're talking about, like particularly taxes and, you know, the electricity grid mix, those are sort of above what the Montgomery County Council right now has purview to regulate.
Right.
So it's going to take some work on the state level. Are you, you know, involved in conversations right now with members of the state delegation, or can you just talk real quick about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so the answer is yes. We've had some initial conversations with members of the state delegation. I've spoken to the governor directly about this, and I think we are going to need, you're seeing a national, Councilmember Mink talked about this, you're seeing people ask for people to shut down data centers once they've already been built because they're seeing the consequences. Every day we're hearing from residents about their utility bills. So this is an issue that every elected official, everyone who's in the public service arena is hearing about. So again, that's why we need to just take a breath, you know, and pause and get the policy right, not try to rush it. You heard Mike talk about speed. Speed is the enemy of getting it right. You know, and in this case, we need to get it right. Okay, so yeah, thank you. So I'm happy to answer any of the questions.